There was once a young man named Daniel who lived in a small, crowded city. From the outside, his life looked normal. He had a decent job, a few friends, and a family that loved him. But deep inside, Daniel felt something was missing. Every day he woke up early, rushed through traffic, worked long hours, and returned home exhausted. He lived according to everyone else's expectations. His parents wanted him to keep a stable job. His friends wanted him to hang out every weekend. His boss wanted him to work overtime. Daniel said yes to everything. But there was one person he never said yes to, himself. You see, Daniel had a dream. Since childhood, he loved painting. Colors made him feel alive. When he painted, time disappeared. But over the years, life pushed that dream into a quiet corner of his heart. Painting won't pay the bills, people told him. Be realistic, others said. And slowly, Daniel began to believe them. Years passed, and his paintbrush gathered dust. One evening, Daniel was returning home from work when he saw an old man sitting in a park. The man was painting a beautiful sunset on a canvas. Daniel stopped walking. He watched quietly as the man moved his brush with calm confidence. The colors seemed to dance across the canvas. Curious, Daniel walked closer. "That's beautiful," he said. The old man smiled. "Thank you." Daniel hesitated before asking, "Did you study art?" The old man chuckled. "No," he replied. "I studied engineering. Worked as an engineer for 40 years. Daniel looked surprised. "Then why start painting now?" The old man paused, looking at the sunset. "Because I spent 40 years choosing everyone else first," he said softly. "And I realized something too late." Daniel leaned forward. "What did you realize?" The old man looked straight at him and said, "If you don't choose yourself first, one day you'll wake up and realize you never really lived your own life." Those words stayed with Daniel the entire night. That night Daniel couldn't sleep. The old man's words echoed in his mind. If you don't choose yourself first. Daniel stared at the ceiling and asked himself a question he had avoided for years. What do I actually want? Not what his parents wanted. Not what society expected. But what he wanted. The answer came quickly. He wanted to paint. But immediately another voice in his head appeared. What if you fail? What will people say? What about money? Fear is very loud when dreams start speaking. So the next morning, Daniel did what he always did. He ignored his dream and went to work. But something was different now. His job suddenly felt heavier. The office lights seemed colder. The endless emails felt meaningless. Because once you hear the truth inside your heart, it becomes very hard to ignore it. A few days later, Daniel made a small decision. He went to an art store and bought a simple paintbrush and a few colors. Nothing expensive. Just enough to begin. That evening, he cleared a small corner in his apartment and placed a blank canvas on the table. For a long time, he just stared at it. His hands felt nervous. What if I'm not good anymore, he thought. But then he remembered the old man in the park. And slowly, he made the first stroke. The brush touched the canvas. and something magical happened. For the first time in years, Daniel felt alive. At first, Daniel painted only at night after work. Some days he was tired. Some days he doubted himself. But he continued. One painting became 2. 2 became 10. Soon his room was filled with colors. But not everyone understood. One evening, his friend Mark visited his apartment. "What is all this?" Mark asked, looking around at the paintings. "I started painting again," Daniel said. Mark laughed. "Seriously? At this age? You're not planning to quit your job for this, right?" Daniel forced a smile. "Of course not." But inside, those words hurt. Choosing yourself often means not everyone will support you. And that's okay. Because not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Months passed. One day Daniel gathered the courage to post his paintings online. He felt nervous pressing the upload button. What if people hate them, he thought. But he posted them anyway. The first day, nothing happened. The second day, a few people liked his work. Then something unexpected happened. An art blogger shared one of Daniel's paintings. Within a week, thousands of people had seen his work. Comments started appearing. "Beautiful. This painting feels peaceful. Do you sell your art?" Daniel couldn't believe it. For years he thought his dream was unrealistic. But the world was telling him something different. One evening Daniel sat alone in his apartment, looking at his paintings. He realized something important. His job paid the bills. But painting gave him life. And now he faced the hardest question of all. Should he continue living safely, or truly choose himself? The safe path was familiar. The uncertain path was scary. But deep inside, Daniel already knew the answer. The next morning he walked into his boss's office. "I'd like to resign," Daniel said. His boss looked shocked. "Are you serious? Why?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I want to become an artist." The boss shook his head. "That's risky. You're giving up a stable career." Daniel smiled calmly. "Maybe," he said. "But I'm finally choosing my own life." The first year was not easy. Daniel had less money. There were months when he worried about paying rent. Some paintings didn't sell. Some people criticized his work. But something had changed inside him. He no longer felt empty. Every morning he woke up excited to paint. Every challenge felt meaningful. Because he wasn't just surviving anymore. He was living. 2 years later, Daniel held his first art exhibition. The same friends who once doubted him now stood in the gallery, looking at his paintings on the walls. Visitors walked around quietly, admiring the colors. One woman stood in front of a painting for a long time. Then she turned to Daniel and said, "This painting makes me feel hopeful." Daniel smiled. "Thank you," he said. By the end of the night, almost every painting was sold. But the money wasn't the most important part. The most important thing was the feeling in Daniel's heart. He had finally built a life that belonged to him. After the exhibition ended, Daniel decided to visit the park where everything had started. He walked slowly, looking around. And there, sitting on the same bench, was the old man, still painting. Daniel walked over and smiled. "Hello again." The old man looked up and recognized him. "Ah, the young man from before." Daniel sat beside him. "I wanted to thank you," he said. "For what?" the old man asked. "For telling me to choose myself." Daniel showed him photos from the exhibition. The old man looked at them carefully and smiled. "I'm glad you didn't wait 40 years like I did," he said. Daniel looked at the sunset and replied, "You helped me understand something important." "What's that?" the old man asked. Daniel said quietly, "Choosing yourself first isn't selfish." The old man nodded. "No," he said. "It's necessary. Many people spend their lives trying to please everyone else. They follow paths they never chose. They silence their dreams because they are afraid. Afraid of failure. Afraid of judgment. Afraid of uncertainty. But here is the truth. You only get one life. And if you don't choose yourself first, someone else will choose your life for you. Choosing yourself doesn't mean ignoring others. It means respecting your dreams. It means listening to the voice inside your heart. It means having the courage to say, "This is the life I want to live."